We all know the story of Noah's Ark, right? The big boat, the animals, the flood that covered the world. But what if the whole point wasn't just about survival? What if it was really about a radical, necessary act of repair? A total reset to create a clean slate for a mission that would change everything.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with why the world had to be washed clean in the first place. Then we'll look at the new rules for humanity after the flood. From there, we'll get into a really intense story about Noah himself and see why his personal approach to being righteous just wasn't enough. And finally, we'll see how all of this perfectly sets the stage for Abraham's completely different, world-changing mission.
So let's jump right in. We have to start with what seems like a huge contradiction. I mean, how can wiping everything out be the first step to fixing things? Well, the interpretation we're exploring argues that the world had spiraled into total moral chaos. The lines between right and wrong, between human and animal, had all become so blurred that the only way forward was a hard reset. You had to clear the slate completely before you could build something new and lasting.
And to really get what's going on here, there's this one crucial word you've got to know. Tikkun. It's a Hebrew term that means repair or rectification, but it's more than just fixing a flat tire. It's about the deep, active process of mending the world on a spiritual and moral level. And that idea, that's the engine driving this entire story.
So then you look at the Ark, and you realize it's way more than just a boat. It's not some last-minute escape plan. Think of it more like a spiritual incubator. It was a carefully planned private refuge, totally sealed off from the corruption outside. It was a space for Noah and his family to do some deep internal work, to build a brand new spiritual foundation for humanity.
Okay, so the flood's over, they step out onto dry land, and what now? Well, they walk into a world with a totally new rulebook and a new way of understanding where humans fit into the grand scheme of things.
And you can see the before and after right here, and it is a massive shift. The biggest one? Before the flood, humans only ate plants. Afterwards, they're given permission to eat meat. Now, that might sound strange, but the idea here is that this was a deliberate move to draw a clear, sharp line between humans and animals to reestablish humanity's unique spiritual position in the world.
So this really wasn't about changing the menu. It was a profound test. It was about giving humanity this new authority over nature and asking, okay, can you handle this? Can you use this power with self-control, with moral responsibility, and with the spiritual awareness it requires?
And boy, does that test come quickly. Almost as soon as Noah sets foot on dry land, we get this incredibly dramatic and really symbolic story about him and his vineyard. So you got to understand, wine in this context is this incredibly powerful two-sided coin. On one hand, it can be a tool for holiness. It can elevate something physical into something spiritual, connecting you to the sacred. But on the other hand, if you lose control, it leads straight to corruption and shame. And that is exactly what's about to happen. So let's just walk through what happens. Noah, this righteous man who just saved the world, plants a vineyard, drinks too much, and loses control. His son Ham finds him vulnerable and, instead of helping, he runs outside to broadcast the shame. But his other two sons, Shem and Japheth, have a totally different instinct.
Wow, I mean, you couldn't have two more different reactions. Ham sees only the external physical shame. He doesn't get the deeper idea of dignity. But Shem and Japheth, they get it. They act with spiritual sensitivity. They understand that you have to protect the sacred, even when it's flawed. They cover the problem. They literally perform an act of tikkun, an act of repair.
But here's the thing. This whole dramatic family scene, it's not just about them. It's pointing to something much bigger. It's exposing the fundamental limit of Noah's entire way of being righteous. And check this out. To really drive this point home, the source brings in the Zohar, a classic text of Jewish mysticism, and it says that if there had been just 10 righteous people, just 10, the whole world could have been saved from the flood. See, the expectation wasn't for one guy to build a boat and save his family. The hope was for a collective, a societal repair.
And this, right here, is the absolute core of the whole idea. Noah is one model of righteousness. It's private, it's defensive. He builds an ark to save himself from the world. But Abraham, who comes next, is a completely new model. His mission is going to be public, it's proactive, it's not about escaping the world, it's about going out and fundamentally changing it.
So, you see, Noah's job was to clear the board, to hit that giant reset button. He laid the foundation. But now, someone else has to come along and build a totally new kind of structure on top of it. And that someone, of course, is Abraham.
And it all kicks off with this legendary command from God to Abraham, Lech Lecha. Now that's usually translated as something like, go forth or go for yourself.
But here's where it gets really deep. The source we're looking at says, hold on, it's not just go forth to some other place. A deeper way to read it is go to yourself. It's a call for an inward journey to find your own spiritual core, because that's the only real place to start if you want to repair the world.
So this is the brand new blueprint. It's the total opposite of Noah's Ark. Abraham's mission isn't to hide, it's to engage. He's not just saving his family, he's tasked with building an entire nation. And that nation is meant to be a model for everyone else, a public vehicle for carrying that message of tikkun, of repair, out to the whole world.
So what's the big idea here? It's this huge shift in responsibility. The mission of repairing the world moves from a private individual, Noah, saving himself, to a collective, Abraham and his descendants, tasked with transforming all of society. And that really leaves us with a pretty provocative question to chew on, right? If that responsibility was passed from Noah to Abraham, who carries that mission of tikkun today?